This is CBC Winnipeg News.
Good evening. Thank you for joining us. Plans to build a roundabout at a notorious Manitoba intersection have been cancelled. The Manitoba government proposed the change at Highways 1 and 16. As CBC's Josh Crabb reports, the idea was aimed at improving safety after a spike in deadly collisions.
I could literally hear her laughing in this picture.
Photos like this one are now so much more precious for Gypsy Hunking. Her 19-year-old daughter Carly and her boyfriend Dorian Roulette were killed in a highway collision in August 2017.
It's going on 7 years that Carly's been gone and Dorian's been gone, and nothing has ever changed.
The crash happened at this busy intersection just west of Portage-La Prairie, where Highway 16 meets the Trans-Canada Highway. A semi-driver was fined and temporarily suspended from driving after going through a red light and colliding with the car Hunking and Roulette were in. A proposal in 2020 to improve safety here never materialized.
Well, we were told that it was supposed to be like a roundabout there, like something was supposed to change.
A provincial spokesperson says a review found a roundabout wouldn't work. One of the main issues is that semis with 2 or more trailers wouldn't be able to get through safely. Aaron Delinick with the Manitoba Trucking Association says the group was consulted on the proposed design. He says truck drivers were also concerned about snow and ice removal on a stretch of highway known for difficult winter driving conditions.
Which, in our view, posed a safety challenge and something that we thought wasn't good enough. This is our Trans-Canada Highway. This is at the backbone of Canada and Manitoba's economy. We can do better than that.
8 people were killed in 4 separate collisions between 2013 and 2017. The province did put in what it previously called interim safety measures, including protected left turns. While no one has been killed in a crash since 2017, there have been multiple collisions here each year since.
Big smile on her face.
All Hunking is left with are photos and memories. She still thinks more safety improvements are needed to help prevent someone else from losing a loved one.
It would be nice to see that and feel a little bit safer coming up to that intersection, that's for sure.
Manitoba Transportation and Infrastructure says it will need a cloverleaf interchange sometime in the future. In the meantime, it's continuing to review other options for the intersection. Josh Crabb, CBC News, Winnipeg.
Quite a scare this morning when a school bus slid into the path of an oncoming semi. It happened just after 7:30 this morning on the Trans-Canada Highway in Headingley. RCMP say the bus was on Highway 334 when it slid in icy conditions into the intersection. The semi jackknifed as its driver tried to avoid the collision. There were 6 students on the bus at the time. None of them was hurt. RCMP say the bus driver, however, was shaken up. The semi blocked traffic westbound on Highway 1. It was at a standstill there for more than an hour. It is tax season, and once again, Winnipeg property owners are getting their assessments in the mail. Not everyone will see a tax increase. CBC's Cameron McLean explains.
If you own property in Winnipeg, you likely received a letter like this. It's the city's latest assessment of your property value. It happens every 2 years, and it's how the city determines how much property tax you pay. Finance Chair Jeff Brulati says the city looks at how much similar homes in your neighborhood have recently sold for and then makes adjustments.
So if you have a double garage, but a property that they use for a comparison only at a single garage, they make an adjustment. If you're on a busier street, because there's a bus on it and the next street over is a comparable sales on a quiet day, they make a little adjustment for that as well.
Across the city, the median increase from 2021 to 2023 was 8%. Condo prices went up more, 9% for apartment style and 17% for non-apartment style. But not all areas went up by the same amount. Some neighborhoods in the south and eastern areas of the city went up by double digits. Houses in the inner city and some older areas, meanwhile, went up by as little as 4%. This year, the city is budgeting for a general tax increase of 3.5%. But how does the change in value of your home affect the amount of property tax you actually pay?
Even though your property value has gone up, that doesn't mean you're automatically paying more property taxes.
If the difference between your old assessed value and your new one is less than 8%, your increase will likely be below 3.5%. If it's equal to 8%, then you can expect a 3.5% increase. And if it's more than 8%, your increase will be higher. Thomas Rempel Ong lives in Tuxedo, one of Winnipeg's wealthiest neighborhoods. Even though the value of his home went up by about $100,000, he says his taxes are unlikely to change much. He thinks the way the city assesses property values is unfair to people in less wealthy areas.
And in my case, I lucked out. Apparently, my house price increase is only average, but at the same time, that means my home equity went up by most people's average salaries in a year.
People can compare their new assessed value to their neighbors using the city's website. Anyone who thinks their property value was assessed unfairly can appeal. The new property values will be used to calculate taxes starting in 2025. Cameron McLean, CBC News, Winnipeg.
Closing arguments wrapped up yesterday in the trial of a man accused of killing a teenager outside a 7-Eleven store in 2021. Clayton Marcano is charged with second-degree murder in the stabbing death of 17-year-old Andy Joseph McKay. Court heard the two were in an altercation outside the convenience store late one night, and that altercation left both seriously injured. McKay was taken to hospital where he died. Marcano's lawyer argued he was acting in self-defense and would have also been killed if he hadn't taken action. The Justice Joan McKelvey has reserved her decision until next month. RCMP in St. Rose-de-Lac say an accused drug dealer froze his fingers so badly while changing a tire in the cold, they could not fingerprint him. Police noticed the suspect on the side of Highway 5 just after midnight Monday. Temperatures were colder than -30 at the time. An officer pulled over to help. The car didn't have a license plate. The officer saw open liquor inside. And then police found bags of drugs, cell phones, and gift cards in the vehicle. The suspect, who allegedly gave a false identity, was taken to hospital for treatment. A 28-year-old Dauphin man faces several charges. A high-profile lawyer representing Peter Nygard says he can no longer represent the former fashion mogul. He says he has withdrawn from Nygard's sexual assault case for ethical reasons. The CBC's Alana Cole explains.
Defense lawyer Brian Greenspan has represented Peter Nygard for years, but now Greenspan has made the move to withdraw as Nygard's lawyer. From Toronto, Greenspan told a Winnipeg court, quote, "There's been an irreconcilable breakdown in the solicitor-client relationship, and that I'll go further and simply say that it is now what I would call and characterize as adversarial." He also said, "This is the first time in the 50 years I've practiced law that I've made an application, a formal application, to be removed from the record." Greenspan was expected to represent Nygard on sexual assault-related charges in Winnipeg. Those alleged offenses date back to November 1993, involving a victim who was 20 years old at the time. Nygard was found guilty on 4 counts of sexual assault in Toronto last year. Greenspan was his lawyer there. Defense lawyer Chris Gamby can't comment on this case specifically, but says lawyers and clients part ways for a number of reasons.
It can happen really at any stage of the proceedings and for just about any reason. A lot of times, you may hear from a client that they no longer want you to represent them, in which case, you've been relieved of your duty to do so. Other times the lawyer may have some concerns about what is happening in that particular case with that client. It may be that the client is requesting that they take steps that really aren't in their best interests anymore.
Today, Greenspan also withdrew as Nygard's lawyer in Ontario. Nygard also faces charges in Quebec and the U.S. Nygard maintains his innocence and denied all allegations. Alana Cole, CBC News, Winnipeg.
The hospital in Thompson is facing critical staff shortages in its lab. The workers who remain are exhausted. That's according to the Manitoba Association of Healthcare Professionals. The union represents lab technologists and other allied health professionals. Union President Jason Linklater says Thompson is down to 2 technologists. One quit before the holidays. Thompson is supposed to have 12 technologists.
We certainly don't want to see people leave because the situation they're in is untenable. We want people's work lives to be fulfilling and meaningful and to have flexibility. So certainly, if they can work together, if Shared Health and those employees can work together to come up with something, that's what we would encourage them to do. Make the workplace a healthy environment, and right now it is about the furthest thing from a healthy environment.
Shared Health says it has 3 lab tech jobs posted in Thompson right now and is actively recruiting. Workers from other parts of the province have also volunteered to help out. Sisler High School in Winnipeg is home to a special dance group, Sisler's Most Wanted. The school teaches dance to students in grades 12 to 9 to 12, as part of the school curriculum. Recently, universities in the United States have posted dance routines that have exploded in popularity online. So, CBC's Jim Agapito went to Sisler to ask how TikTok has influenced students to pick up dance.
See the girl with the diamonds in her shoes. She walks around like she's got nothing to lose. The importance of dance at schools is huge. Students here, I get to see them every day and teach them every day. And to walk by a classroom and you see math, walk by a classroom and you see dance, it's amazing. These kids really excel, and it's very impressive.
TikTok is inspiring an entire generation of dancers. It's not in the conventional sense, you know. It seems like people are learning these things and whatnot. Like, what does that mean to you as teachers?
I think it's definitely brought up more interest, but like 20 years ago or even 10 years ago, students would say, I'm interested in dance because I saw a YouTube video. And then it turned into watching So You Think You Can Dance or different dance shows on TV, but now it's TikTok, and that's their access point.
With the amount of like these various dances posted on TikTok, it's like you get ideas of what you want to do for your next dance, like for inspiration. It's like, okay, that's really cool. Like, yeah, I want that. I want that. I want to do that.
With TikTok, like, you can just keep scrolling endlessly, and with that, it's just so easy to get consumed by this media and just be like, oh my God, what they're doing is so cool. I want to be a part of that, and I feel it's very inspiring.
I was not a hater of TikTok. I was always curious where it's going to go. And I think as educators and dancers, first and foremost, it teaches us to continue to change and evolve and be open, right? Because our way, the old traditional way, is not always the best way. So we got to continue to keep an open mind in terms of what is happening in the youth and what is inspiring them.
It is good that they're moving so much. Yes. It is very good. Keep moving because the extreme cold warnings are back.
We have extreme cold warnings in place once again for parts of Manitoba. But doesn't mean it's not going to be cold everywhere else. We're looking at pretty cold nighttime lows here in the Red River Valley as well. So that extreme cold warning in place for the southwest corner of the province, including Brandon, Dauphin, the Russell Riding Mountain region down through Melita. So we're expecting wind chill values tonight to get as cold as that minus 40 to 45 range, and that is cold enough to freeze exposed skin in about 5 to 10 minutes. So it's going to be a pretty chilly evening here in the southwest corner of the province, and that warning does extend out into Saskatchewan as well. Minus 20 in Winnipeg right now. We hit minus 17 earlier this afternoon. West winds at 15. We've been seeing those winds start to drop off through the afternoon today. We're seeing pressure rising, and that's going to allow some clearer skies as we get into the day tomorrow. Looking at satellite radar, not a lot to see. We've been seeing some nice clearing. It was nice to see the sunshine, especially here in the Red River Valley through the afternoon. We're looking at a pretty clear night ahead and into the day on Thursday. But we do have a little bit of instability moving through. You can see by 8 o'clock in the morning, we're seeing some flurry activity starting to move through northern and central Manitoba. So first thing in the morning, areas like Flin Flon, the POC could be seeing some periods of light snow through the morning into the early afternoon. This does drift a little bit further south. I did stop it here at 4:30 in the afternoon because you can see even in the Red River Valley and even as far west as Brandon, some of this light snow, I think not much more other than some flurries, if anything, falls here in southern Manitoba. But certainly the north looking at a little bit of accumulating snow. We'll talk about that in just a second. Skies remaining relatively clear and sunny as well as we head into the day on Friday. Looking at our projected snowfall for the north, I think generally 2 to 4 centimeters. Could see some higher pockets, especially through the Churchill region over toward Lynn Lake and Brochet. Speaking of snow, we showed you this a little before Christmas time. I thought we'd take another look at it, just how deep the snowpack is across Manitoba now that we've seen some snow. So around the Riding Mountain region, 10 to 15 centimeters, really extending into the Eastman region as well. A little less down toward the Morden-Winkler region, but boy, oh boy, look at northern Manitoba. We're seeing about 20 to 30 centimeters on the ground across most of the north. So yeah, what a change a few weeks makes, hey? Down to minus 27 in Winnipeg tonight, a partly cloudy and cold night tonight. Really plug in the car if you're going anywhere first thing in the morning tomorrow. I know the pets probably won't want to spend a lot of time outside in this weather either tonight. Minus 26 first thing in the morning, a bundle up to go to school type of morning. Northwest winds at 10 and minus 18 tomorrow afternoon. We'll see that chance of flurries through the afternoon. Mix of sun and cloud for Friday, minus 15 degrees. Minus 16 on the way for Saturday. Windy conditions, south winds gusting to 50. And then this is our turning point here, minus 11 for Sunday. And Janet, temperatures only going up from this minus 11 on Sunday. And we'll talk about that when I come back.
Thank you very much, Riley.
You're welcome.
A new musical production in Dauphin has captured a slice of life most Manitobans would recognize. It revolves around life at the local co-op store. The co-op musical was written and directed by Peter Nadolny. Hi, Peter. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
What is it that inspired you to create a musical about a co-op?
Well, I had done a couple of musicals here over the last few years. And on closing night of the one last year, someone said to me, "What are you going to do next?" And I went, "I don't know." And my friend and assistant director Mel said, "Hey, why don't you use those scenes that you've written about the co-op and turn it into a play?" Because since moving back home to Dauphin 4 years ago, I noticed at the co-op, people don't just go there to shop. There's always people standing in the aisles just shooting the breeze and talking, sometimes for an hour. And I took snippets of those conversations that I overheard and turned them into scenes, and it eventually grew into the co-op, the musical.
You took notes of conversations you overheard. Should your neighbors be worried, next time they see you anywhere that you're taking notes?
Not at all. These are conversations that you will hear in every co-op across the country.
What is it? It's got to be character rich. What is it about these characters that you found that can carry a musical?
Well, there's the person who's standing at the door saying, "Have a nice day" as you leave. There's the cashier who knows everything and everyone goes to for advice. There's the stock boy who everyone knows and can count on to run and grab whatever they need. And it's the people who shop there standing in line, not even concerned that the line is an hour long because they're standing there talking with friends.
How many people do you have in the cast?
24.
That is a big cast. How are rehearsals going?
They're going really, really well. Auditions were difficult because there's so much talent in this town, and to choose 24 out of the many, many that came out to audition was difficult. But we pared it down, and we've got a really great, solid cast, great singers, great actors, all local, and it's going to be brilliant.
Well, Peter Nadolny, we wish you nothing but luck. Thanks for talking with us today.
Thank you.
Peter Nadolny, not Nadolski, I'm sorry about that. What you're looking at right now is Strep A. There's been a surge in it, a surge of infections in Canada rising at a record pace. Some people are dying from this. We've got one family's experience and the warning signs all parents should look out for after the break. Health authorities across the country are warning about a sharp increase in cases of invasive Streptococcus A. While it's usually associated with milder infections, the bacteria can be very dangerous and it can turn fatal very quickly. CBC's Lauren Pelly reports.
We'd always read a book before bed.
Christina Heckes says her daughter Quinn started feeling sick last March, just a few weeks shy of her 6th birthday.
We did the things every parent does, the Tylenol, the Advil.
By phone, a doctor told Heckes it was likely just a lingering cold. Suddenly, her daughter took a turn.
Her breathing is labored. Nothing's happened with her fever. It's been 3 days. I said, okay, that's it, no more. We're going to the hospital.
X-rays showed Quinn had pneumonia, and later tests showed her organs were failing. She died within hours.
I don't know how to tell other people how fast it was. My daughter was sitting, watching a movie, having a conversation with her nurses, and not 6 hours later, she was gone.
The cause, a common bacterial infection. Group A streptococcus is usually linked to milder illness like strep throat. But in some cases, bacteria invade the bloodstream, rapidly causing sepsis, even death. New national data provided to CBC News shows infections have spiked, with 4,600 reports of invasive Strep A by the end of 2023, the highest annual total recorded in Canada.
So we've been seeing an increased level of invasive Group A streptococcal disease.
Ontario officials say in that province, 48 people have died this season, including 6 children.
It's really difficult, of course, for the families and those caring for them. It's something we're tracking closely.
2 people have died so far this year in New Brunswick. And in December, BC officials warned there were twice as many cases of invasive strep among people under 20 than the province expected. Warning signs include a fever, dizziness, confusion, or intense pain. Those symptoms require fast medical attention and antibiotics. But
even though that's the right drug for the right bug, there isn't 100% success rate.
Lauren Pelly, CBC News, Toronto.
A recent surge in aggression by Iran is triggering fears of a wider conflict in the Middle East. Iran and its proxies have stepped up strikes against neighbors and indirectly against Israel and the United States. The U.S. has launched its own attacks against Yemen-based Houthi rebels allied with Iran. Now, Washington has labeled the Houthis a terrorist group, and Canada's considering doing the same. CBC's Sasha Petrusek has the latest.
Houthi fighters celebrate on the deck of a seized cargo ship. Undeterred by Western airstrikes, they vow to keep attacking Red Sea shipping. Backed by Iran, which encourages them to fight till victory, as it does other militant groups in the region, all of them enemies of Israel and the U.S. Now that Iran itself has fired missiles at 3 of its neighbors this week, fears of an escalating conflict in the Mideast are growing, sparked by war in Gaza. Iran's latest strike landed in Pakistan, where officials say 2 children were killed and others wounded.
We have also informed them that Pakistan has decided to recall its ambassador from Iran.
Iran says it was targeting a Sunni militant group here. Terrorists on Pakistani soil, says Iran's foreign minister. He says other strikes were aimed at Israeli spies in Iraq and ISIS militants in Syria. That's raised anger in Iraq and the possibility of more fighting across the region, something the U.S. says it's trying to contain by designating the Houthis as a terrorist group.
Gave us the tools to deny the Houthis access to the financial system and gave us the tools to impose additional actions, additional sanctions on anyone who does business with the Houthis.
Some of those sanctions may be directed at Iran, a needed approach to discourage its interference in Yemen and elsewhere, say experts.
Figure out a plan to ultimately deal with Iran to staunch these flows of weapons and materiel and funding going into these countries, or else this is just going to continue. The cycle of violence and terrorism will go on for, another 4 decades? And that's what we're up against.
Canada is also considering designating the Houthis as terrorists, giving Ottawa similar tools. Sasha Petrusik, CBC News, Toronto.
A new agreement between Hamas and Israel will allow the delivery of more aid for Gaza. It will also see medical assistance for Israeli hostages being held by militants. More than 24 trucks have rolled into Gaza carrying food, medical supplies, and other goods. The deal was brokered by Qatar and France. In return, Hamas is allowing deliveries of medication to hostages being held in Gaza. That's been a key demand from their families, who staged a demonstration on the weekend marking the hostages' 100th day in captivity. Israel has updated the number of people who were abducted on October 7th to 253. More than 100 have been released, but a number have died in captivity. Israel believes about 105 are still alive. Kensington Palace announced today that the King's daughter-in-law, the Princess of Wales, has undergone abdominal surgery. The statement says the operation on Catherine, the wife of Prince William, was planned and successful. Abby Kua-Dawson has the latest.
Kensington Palace has confirmed that the Princess of Wales has had a scheduled abdominal surgery in London. They say the successful operation took place on Tuesday, and Catherine Middleton is expected to remain in hospital anywhere between 10 to 14 days. Kensington Palace tells CBC News that the procedure is not in any way linked to cancer treatment. The palace says she will postpone her engagements, most likely until after Easter. They say the princess is sorry about missing planned events. Meanwhile, royal sources say Prince William will postpone some of his own engagements to be with his family, and that he will not partake in any official engagement while his wife remains in hospital. The palace also says it will not provide further public updates unless there is significant news to share. Abby Kua-Dawson, CBC News, Berlin.
And Buckingham Palace has also announced King Charles will undergo a procedure next week to treat an enlarged prostate. The palace says the 75-year-old monarch's condition is benign. He'll be treated in hospital. The palace says the king will need a short period of time to recover after the procedure, and some engagements are being postponed. Donald Trump is back in court for the second day of his defamation damages trial in New York. The woman who accused the former U.S. president of sexual assault and then lying about it is testifying today. Writer E. Jean Carroll told the court her reputation was shattered after she accused Trump of sexually assaulting her in the 1990s. The judge threatened Trump with expulsion from court after repeated warnings to keep his voice down during her testimony. This is Carroll's second civil trial against Trump. Last May, a different jury found that the former U.S. president sexually abused her in 1996 and defamed her when he denied it. The jury awarded her $5 million in damages. Trump continued to attack her after that verdict, prompting her to seek additional damages in the current trial. He has denied all allegations. Back here at home, the federal government is working on plans to reduce the number of international students allowed to study in Canada. It's just one of the ways the immigration minister says he's looking to rein in an influx of non-permanent residents as the housing crisis continues. Tyler Cheese has more.
Last year, Canada welcomed record numbers of international students. But as issues of housing affordability and the rising cost of living continue, those numbers have added strain to an already struggling system.
It's high time that we took some action on trying to rein in international student admissions in Canada.
Canada's immigration minister, Mark Miller, has recently floated the idea of a cap on international students coming into the country. But experts say the government needs to be careful in how they go about it.
To put a blanket cap where there's just a number and it's just based on who can get in first is really the wrong way to go.
She says the government needs to prioritize students who are most likely to get a job in their field upon graduation.
We have a lot of research that clearly shows they're actually among the most productive and highest earning and highest achieving new immigrants.
At the end of last year, the government doubled the amount of money international student applicants need to prove they have access to, but
the students themselves aren't the problem. We need to be looking at the individual institutions, making sure that they're delivering high quality education and making sure that they have enough housing to support their enrollment plans.
In December, Miller made similar remarks, saying we expect learning institutions to only accept the number of students that they're able to provide for, able to house, or assist in finding off-campus housing. In welcoming international students, we have a responsibility to make sure that students are supported when they come to our country. This former international student is aligned with the experts.
If Canada is serious about increasing our immigrants, we should just do a better job on attracting students to the programs that we know that we're going to have shortage.
Last year, Immigration, Refugees and Citizenship Canada projected that international student applications would rise to 1.4 million by 2027 from just under a million in 2023. Tyler Cheese, CBC News, Toronto.
Festival du Voyageur is announcing its headline entertainment. The Strumbellas will perform at this year's festival. Festival will feature a diverse lineup of more than 150 musical groups. Parc du Voyageur will also feature a new Indigenous art gallery featuring local artists. It's got a building now. It's housed and the art is protected. Somali-Canadian rapper Kanon will also perform at this year's festival. Festival runs February 16th to 25th. Still ahead, Riley Lachuk with his look at the Manitoba forecast. You're watching CBC Winnipeg News. This cold Arctic air that's been impacting Western Canada is hitting BC as well. They've been having an actual winter. In fact, up to 20 centimeters of snow is expected to fall before a current storm eases later today. All that snow has shut down schools in the Vancouver area and created commuter delays, canceling flights and power outages. But as Lindsay Duncombe reports, some locals are finding ways to enjoy it.
This rare snow day in Vancouver and throughout the Lower Mainland has brought both joy and frustration. The frustration really is anyone needing to get anywhere today. There are delays on public transit. The buses are using the shorter buses, not the longer ones, because they're more agile. The SkyTrain had to run overnight to prevent the snow from accumulating on the tracks. And in terms of accumulation, that can cause problems for power as well. There are currently thousands of BC Hydro customers who do not have power right now because of all of the snow. So that's the frustration, but there certainly is a whole lot of joy. School is out. College, university, it's out too. And that means people are out enjoying all of that snow. From snowmen to sledding to even skiing, this certainly is a lot of fun for many people.
Yeah, I love snow. So fun to make snowmen.
They love it. Kids love it. I always take him to Cyprus when it's not snowing down here, but it's convenience now.
Well, it's very fun and it's snowing. And the last couple of weeks, it didn't snow, so it's very fun that it snowed.
As fun as this is, it will likely be short-lived. Freezing rain is in the forecast, so people are getting out here and enjoying it while they can. Lindsay Duncombe, CBC News, Vancouver.
Okay, Riley, how much snow exactly are they getting?
Some parts of southern British Columbia looking up to 30 centimeters of snow by the time this is all said and done. And as Lindsay mentioned there, more precipitation, some mixing.
Heavy snow.
Heavy snow. This is very
shovel,
saturated.
Very heavy.
So we still have a lot of watches and warnings in place across British Columbia. We'll take a quick look at that right now. And you can see in the yellow, we have winter storm warning for the BC interior, Metro Vancouver area under a snowfall warning. So at last count, Metro Vancouver had seen up to 15 to 20 centimeters of snow today. Abbotsford, it's more like 20 centimeters, up to 25 so far. And this is really extending west through the interior, through the mountain passes and into southern Alberta. So quite a bit of snow on the way. This is how it looks on Futurecast as we get through the next few hours here. That moves out quickly, but look at what happens as we get into Thursday. Through the afternoon, we start to see more precipitation moving into the south coast of British Columbia, Vancouver Island with snow, then some of this mixing, and then shifting over to rain as we get into the later half of the week into early Friday. So we're looking at a very messy few days on the west coast. Not quite as messy here for sure, but still we're looking at some cooler temperatures west of us in through Alberta and Saskatchewan. -2 right now in Vancouver and +2 in Victoria. South of the border, we're looking at temperatures starting to moderate a little bit. Yeah, remember the -20s that we saw in parts of Nebraska and the Dakotas? Well, that is starting to moderate south of the border, and we're still sitting at some of those -20 temperatures here in Manitoba as well. -20 at the airport, -17 downtown still, and we're seeing temperatures right around -20 across southern Manitoba this hour and into northwestern Ontario. -20 in Kenora and Melita, -19s up the western edge of the province, and pretty consistent across the north as well, right around that -20 mark as well. So tonight, your forecast looks like this in northwestern Ontario. We do have mainly cloudy sky clearing through the night tonight. Temperatures really dipping down. You'll see these temperatures here getting close to that -30 mark. So we are looking at a pretty cold night on the way. -27 in Winnipeg, -25 in Emerson, close to -30 across southwestern Manitoba as well, including Brandon at -29 tonight. And we're expecting some periods of snow through most of northern Manitoba tonight, -23 in the Pas and up to 4 centimeters, as I showed you earlier, coming in Churchill tonight. That tapers off through the night. Still a chance of some lingering light snow through the morning through Flin Flon and the Pas. We'll see that through the afternoon with a chance of some flurries through Swan River and Dauphin, temperatures around minus 18 degrees. In the capital region tomorrow, a slim chance we could see some flurries in the afternoon, especially through the Gimli, Winnipeg region and down into southeastern Manitoba. Temperatures again around minus 18, minus 19, and that's the same for northwestern Ontario tomorrow with a mix of sun and clouds. We do have a little more precipitation in our forecast here as well. I'll have that when I come back.
Thanks so much, Riley.
You're welcome.
Well, as food prices keep rising and the cost of living crisis deepens, the number of people turning to food banks in our province is growing. You may have also noticed more community pantries popping up. That's happening all across the country. These things are volunteer-driven and just another way to help your neighbors deal with food insecurity. The CBC's Paul Palmer explains what a vital service they're providing for those in need near Halifax.
This is the most important, is the milk.
Making a trip to the Dartmouth Community Fridge has become a regular part of Diane Kennedy's life.
I'm telling you, I don't think people realize the impact it does on people's lives.
Kennedy also hits food banks regularly because she is on a fixed income and has an adult son who needs medication. At one point, she and her son were living in a U-Haul trailer.
Like, this feeds me and my son. This enables me to have fresh milk and potatoes. I mean, sometimes you have like lots of soup there, lots of bread there. There's plenty sometimes.
Ray Nagus is in his early 60s and can no longer work because he has kidney cancer. He says the food from the fridge is a game changer for him and others.
It helps a lot of people out here. I see people coming here and going all the time. It's a lifesaver.
I buy some stuff, but you don't get enough all the time because you can't afford enough, right? And when I'm short, that's the only time I come down, right? I'm down to get, if I can get them. And I get them, I'm happy, I'm grateful.
The fridge operates under the take what you need, leave what you can mantra and is run by volunteers. While much of the food is donated, some of it is purchased with money that is also donated to the group. Christine Nygard is one of their shoppers and picks up groceries at a discount grocery store, packs them into her car, and then delivers them to the community fridge. She packs a pantry with non-perishable goods on one side and then will move over to a fridge on the other side. It's located in a small structure next to a church in downtown Dartmouth.
People who access food from the fridge are really just anyone in the community. Times are really hard for people. A lot of people are struggling to make ends meet. So we have a lot of seniors, students, people on fixed incomes.
Many Nova Scotians are struggling with food insecurity, with the price of groceries soaring at stores like Sobeys and Atlantic Superstore. Food banks are also being heavily used, particularly by people who are on fixed incomes. In nearby Cole Harbour, Lindsay Watts gathers food for her family from another community fridge. She says the extra food makes a big difference for her.
It's been tough, starting on my own about 7 years ago, and I've had to depend on food banks and these community fridges to help me out.
The Cole Harbour fridge opened in October. The number of people needing to use it continues to grow.
We think that they're very vast and that a lot of people who are newly food insecure are experiencing looking for resources for the first time.
With no end in sight to the growing issue of food insecurity, more of these community fridges will likely continue to pop up in neighbourhoods around the province. Paul Palmer, CBC News, Dartmouth.
Tomahawk chips are a Manitoba success story, but getting this idea from field to store floor wasn't easy. Meet the entrepreneur behind the vision after the break. You're watching CBC Winnipeg News. The organizers of Manitoba Ag Days 2024 wanted to find somebody to talk about the value of added value, of taking the raw materials that we grow right here in Manitoba and making them into something, then marketing that thing and following it all the way through to distribution. To talk about that journey, they turned to Alfred Lee. Alfred is the founder of the Native Canadian Ship Corporation. Thank you for joining us.
You're welcome. Thank you.
When we were chatting earlier today, you were remembering being a young boy driving a tractor that someone in your family had on their farm. What would it take for that young boy to believe he'd be in the position you are now?
Well, it was a long, hot day sitting on a tractor, and I seen people going by, and I said to myself, I ain't going to sit on this tractor all my life. And that hard work, you know, it gave me a chance to look elsewhere, and farming was something that, you know, I enjoyed, but I also come from a fishing community, so it gave me a hard work ethic, and I think that's the key to success, because you never give up. You take that, you know, that potato from the ground, and you make it into something that you have to bring to market. And that's the responsibility of an entrepreneur. We have to take that raw product and work with the producer. And I don't think a lot of people understand that. It has to, you know, my job is to convince the distributor and the retailer, you know, that this is something that they can make money from. So it's a joint effort, right from the raw product in the ground right to the finished product in the stores.
And how long did it take to make this dream of yours, this tomahawk chips dream, a reality?
Oh, well, it took me as an entrepreneur several different ventures to finally get to something that you know, that I could work with and other people would enjoy the taste. And pricing was, you know, is an important factor, but is the marketing of the product and the hard work that you have to put into it. It's a hard job, but it's rewarding because you see, you know, the people that you're employing from that product and the taxes and that are being collected and so forth. So it's a huge responsibility. The larger you get, of course, the more responsibility that you have. Now you have employees, now you have a third party, people help out in terms of transportation and marketing, advertising, printing, and so forth.
You don't make it sound easy.
No, it's not easy, but it's rewarding, and you get to meet a lot of youth, and I think that's the important thing. For me, it wasn't all about you know, how much money you're making, anything, but it was more about opening the doors for, you know, for young people, and that's important. You know, it's hard out there for young people, so I'm hoping that I can contribute in some way.
And your message to them is,
you know, to be open, to be honest, because a handshake is a lot better than a contract, and a businessman will know that. They'll look at you and see that you paid your dues.
Relationships and hard work.
Yes.
Alfred Lee, thank you so much for chatting with us today.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you.
Your 7-day forecast and daily lift are still to come tonight. You're watching CBC Winnipeg News.
The Leaf, transformed into a garden of fresh floral mannequins that you need to experience. Fleur de Ville Voyage. Visit cbc.ca/Manitoba/community for more.
So here's a look at that extreme cold warning encompassing basically everywhere Portage La Prairie west into Saskatchewan, including the Dauphin region. Could feel as cold as -45 with the wind chill tonight. In Winnipeg tomorrow, -18 degrees. Chance we could see some flurries in the evening, overnight into Friday morning with a high of -15. And then things kind of look up from there, a little bit gray as we head into the beginning of next week. -9s for Monday and Tuesday, and -5 for Wednesday, with south winds gusting to 40 under a cloudy sky. So things are looking a bit better in the coming days. Well, it was a special day today for some precious pets in Spain.
Yes, it was. Their owners took them to be blessed to celebrate St. Anthony's Day. Here is your Daily Lift. The pets and their owners gathered at a church in Madrid for the annual event honoring the patron saint of animals. The priests celebrated Mass, and then the animals were sprinkled with holy water. To Catholics, St. Anthony is viewed as someone who cared for animals and protected them. Take your dog to church day.
Yeah.
There you go.
They're dressed in their best.
Absolutely, their Sunday best. I love that guy's hat.
Yeah.
Any dog going out tonight needs a hat, needs boots, needs the coat.
Yep.
Don't leave your animals out, whatever you do.
No. The booties, especially important, because those sidewalks are cold.
Very cold. Yep. Do be careful out there. We'll see you tonight at 11 and tomorrow at 6. Good night.